I wish I read this book a lot earlier because now it has simplified the whole point of getting rich for me. And before, when I think of getting rich, I'm like, what business should I start? Which idea should I go for? Am I sure it will work? And we know all the different things are how confusing it can be. You don't even know where to start from, especially when you're the only person in your family that is going in this direction. But after reading this book, now for example, I can see ideas everywhere. I don't question about what idea should I go for. Like there's so many ideas out. There's so many ideas that I have come up with. So in this video, I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that has really changed how I think about getting rich. So to do this, I have my assistant over there who is going to help me putting the points on the board. But for me, I'm just gonna chill down here. It's quite chilly today. Yeah. Anyway, so let us begin. A very key definition of wealth that MJ DeMarco explains in the book is that wealth is not just about the money you get, but the freedom you have. Some people are earning a lot of money, but they're not free. Like they can't decide to take a break. They can't take a vacation when they want to. Almost like they're slaves to whatever they are doing. But true wealth is not just do you have a lot of money, but you also have freedom to live how you want, to go where you want, to spend time with the people you want. And now, point one. The point one that's really did a lot for me is the different parts of wealth. Yeah, different parts of wealth. So MJ DeMarco explained that there are three distinct parts. The first one is the sidewalk. The second one is the slow lane, and the third one is the fast lane. The sidewalk is more of prioritizing short-term goals over your long-term progress. It's more about living the moment, and not living the moment in a good way per se, but it's about spending as much as you can to make right now, because you just want it now. It's about trying to look rich now. People that get into lotteries and someone has got $1 million and within like 6 months the person is broke again, and you're like, how did they lose that amount of money when they're even living on less than that? So it's that kind of reality for the sidewalk. Then for the slow lane is what all of us know about having a job. But this one is not just about the job, but job plus market investment. So that's the dynamic of the slow lane, and I'll explain why it's slow later on. And then the fast lane, according to the book, is the one where you have a business and the business is generating you income, and from that income then you acquire assets or you invest into things and all of that. So that is a simplified explanation of what the different parts are. So like after I read this and understood that these different roadmaps or these different lanes, it's made it look like wealth is not more about a conceptual thing, but it's about it's more of like a strategy, or it's more of a game that you are playing. So it's not about an abstract idea, but it's about a game that once you played it rightly, you win. So why is the slow lane why is it slow, or why isn't it good? The very first thing he explained is speed. How fast the wealth is being created. So for the slow lane, what happens is based on your salary, you take about 10%, 20% and you invest into like a 401k or an investment, maybe a retirement plan or something for the future. So you keep on investing. So let's say I make like $2,000 a month, and which is pretty low, but let's say I make that amount a month, and then I take like 10%, which is like $200, and I invest into an investment, something into a bond or a stock, whatever. And then I keep on doing that consistently. Before my investment becomes very significant, it has to be like I have to keep on doing this for like 30 years, 40 years, like taking all things being equal, taking that the market doesn't just crash all of a sudden, and taking it that I'm just in a normal, stable investment stuff. It's just a normal one, yeah. So it takes quite a lot of time for your investment to become significant, for you to become wealthy, for you to become rich. It takes a lot of time. That's the first one, which is speed. Then the second one is control, how much say you have over it. So for the slow lane, your income largely depends on your boss. So if your boss decides to fire you today, that's over. Or if, let's say, AI replaces your job, part of what is happening right now, sorry for you in that direction. Or also, it also depends on your intrinsic value, so how skilled you are or how talented you are. That's for the slow lane. But then why is my main people are so into this one? It's because it's proven. Everybody's doing this. Everybody has a job. So why would somebody want to do something that's not sure? Why would someone want to do something that's not certain? But then how do we get into the fast lane? He explained that it's beyond having a business per se. The fundamental of the fast lane is that the more you help people, the more you can earn. So basically, the more problems you solve, or the more significant the problems you solve, and the more amount of people you help solve those problems, the more money you can get. That's the core idea for the fast lane. And then you may ask, what kind of problem Basically, anything that is solvable and that people are willing to pay for. That's what he explains in the book. And when you find enough people that have that same problem, then you can start earning a decent amount of money from that. And so once you found a problem that a lot of people really want to get solved, and then you make the solution that's good for that solves that problem very well, then you create a structured business around the problem, you show it to a large amount of people, then the money is coming in, the income is coming in, and you're already in your way in the fast lane, according to the book. He gave a formula for wealth, and he explained that wealth is equal to your net profit times your asset value. And by net profit is like revenue minus cost. So that's the profit coming from your business. And then based on that profit, based on the amount of profit you get, then you can use it to acquire assets or invest it and all of that. Now, because it's a business, and when you do the business well and earn a lot of money, the amount you can invest at once is a lot bigger than what somebody from a regular job is going to be able to invest at once. So let's say my business is earning about $5 million per year. And that's how much profit I get from my business every year. That is how much I can invest, or that's how much I can use to acquire assets, that if I want to use everything. So there's a lot more money I can get from that compared to somebody that is based on his salary. And then one thing he explained here, which I think many of us have been getting wrong, is the goal of an investment is not to make you rich. I used to think that when you want to get wealthy, you have to just look for an investment. That's why many of us fall into the high reward thing, the high reward facade, and then some of us then get into very bad investment deals. He explains that the main goal for them is a store for the value that you have created, and also a potential for the value to increase over time. But if you're using investment as your road to getting rich, you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot, because that's your role. You're looking for the best investment, and many times the ones that give the highest amount of value or the highest amount of return can be the ones that can be unreal, or they're not concrete, they're not accurate, and they end up putting all your money into something and they just scam you. So he explains that investments are a way to store your money, but your business is what actually generates the money. That's your main money machine. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, do also click the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Let's go back to the video. But so what kind of idea can we go for? Today is where the book says that we should focus on scalability. MJ DeMarco explains that not every business is really a fast lane business. Some businesses are just high paying job. And the key example for this one is, let's say someone decides that they're going to open a cafe today. But then the dynamic of that business is they have to be there like every day. The results are dependent on them. If they say they're going to stop working today, the business can shut down. For a business like that, it is a business in quotes, but it's still kind of a job, because you still don't have the freedom that made you even start it in the first place. So he explained that the key business that is a fast lane business is the one where you have unlimited scaling abilities. Like you can scale without having to necessarily increase your efforts directly. So the kind of business where you probably with the same or with slightly more effort, you can significantly reach more amounts of people and get more money. But a business where it's largely tied to your output, how much you can scale is limited. Because even if I say I'm going to start a graphic design business, with such a business model, what I earn is based on how much I can perform. So I have to work on one client at a time. But then if I want to use that model and really become rich, he explains that then you now have to hire more people and expand in that way. So whatever the business model you give, you should ask yourself, how much can I scale this to the point where I can serve a lot more people without having to increase how much I'm putting into the business per se. You guys remember the fast lane wealth equation, which was wealth is equal to net profit times asset value. Now he gave a formula for net profit, and net profit is equal to units sold times unit profit. And so looking at it as a formula, you see, the more I sell, the more net profit I get, or the more profit per item sold, the more net profit I get. So either I increase the scale, that is how much people I'm serving, how much I'm selling, or I increase the magnitude of each sale, that is what's the worth of each purchase that is being made. So if let's say I have an app that, let's say, is on a subscription basis, and it's earning me like each subscription like $10. To earn my first million, I need to have at least 100,000 people subscribe to the app. But then, if let's say I'm selling a coaching program or so for like $10,000, to earn my first million, I just need 100 purchases. So you see the dynamics there. Yeah. So if you know you can play the magnitude game, you go for the magnitude. If you can play the scaling game, you go for the scaling game. I think understanding this in this perspective, I feel like it's kind of putting the puzzles together, and you are seeing the general idea involved in getting rich, And so for me, I know that first of all, I need a business that I can scale beyond my efforts. And now in that business, I know either I have to either use a model that is dependent on me finding a lot of people, or a model that is dependent on me creating something that is a kind of expensive so that I don't have to sell to many people to earn a lot of money. Also, I know that no matter which way I choose, the core principle is the more problems I solve, the more I get rich. So yeah, I think, is it just me or you can see pieces coming together? Now, the fifth point is that your goal is to solve problems. And even though I've already mentioned that your goal is to solve problems before, I feel like it's a point that needs to be reiterated on. So yeah, your goal is to solve why can't you just focus on I just give you one simple job. Put the points on the board. Why? Voila. This is your final warning. Yeah, so your goal here is to solve problems. The first step is for you to look around for your areas of inefficiencies. And when I say inefficiencies, I mean things that are either not solved or not solved well, either of them. So if, let's say, I don't know, okay, let's say I have a book. I saw an interesting product, so I use a book. I use this for example. So I saw a book, and at night when you don't have light, it's difficult to read properly and enjoy your reading. So maybe you have to turn on your phone and be shining your book to read. But then I saw an interesting product that was made where it's like a glass plate that you put in the book and it lights up what you're reading. So I think that, for example, was an interesting product to make. So it can be a physical product, an online product, a course, whatever it is, solving a problem. But then what if the solution already exists? Now he explains that this is one that really hits me hard. He explained that even if the solution exists, it doesn't mean you still can't meet the solution. Your goal is to solve that problem better than the person that is already serving it. So you have to look at them and see what are they doing that is not very good, that people would really appreciate it if it was done better. So it could be their customer service, it could be the kind of results they're producing, it could be how, whatever it is. If you can see areas that could be done better in that business, then he explained that you should just go for it. It's not just about any business though. He gave some potent Fastlane business areas to go for. The very first one he gave was the internet. Under the internet, you have things like subscription-based products, which that's kind of my favorites right now. So subscription-based products, you can offer users data, information, or software as a service kind of business. Then you also have content-based businesses like YouTube, which we are doing right now. You also have lead generation businesses, social networks, advertising, e-commerce. Those are all internet model, Fastlane, potent businesses. Then the next one you explained was innovation. This one comes to the book example that I gave. Basically, you see something that's not being done well, then you create a solution for it, or you innovate it. You guys know what innovation means. I don't have to explain that one. Then the last one is the intentional iteration. And you remember when I explained about the way? Did I give you an example of that? Okay, no. If you are coming from a typical African home, you know that one of the businesses that our parents, especially our mothers, talk about a lot is make food and sell. But now he explained that it's not that it's a bad idea, but how much food can you make on your own? So it's limited to your efforts. But then it doesn't mean that it can't work. But he says that if you're really trying to go in that direction and still scale and become seriously rich from that, then you have to apply what is called intentional iteration. That is, find a way to do it a lot of times to help a lot of people in different places. So for example, I can have part of my food business in a place called A. That's where my business is located. Intentional iteration could now be I open another location or another branch in another place and I'm serving those people. With KFC, for example, franchising. That way I'm doing this thing multiple times. I'm running it multiple times. That's what it means iterating it. And that way, because you're doing it so many times, you can earn a lot more money that way. The main takeaway from this point 5 is, even if a solution already exists, it doesn't mean you can't do it. The whole point is, if you can find a way to implement that solution better than what is already there, then just go for it. And now, the very final point is, success lies in execution. I'm just going to take over. I'm just going to do this myself because clearly you cannot rely on some people. Yeah. So now the last point is that success lies in execution. That's the last point that I have to show you guys. Yeah, and the main point of this is, no matter how good your idea is, if you don't execute on that idea, it's trash. It won't bring anything for you. That's how it is. So he says you can use the worst idea, but if you can execute it very excellently, you're going to make it work, which I'm kind of curious about. I want to see how bad an idea can be for me to make it work. Yeah, but to explain this further, I'm going to use a table, which is on the screen right now. And you see that even if I have a very good idea, the best idea in the world, if I don't execute on that idea, it is worthless. But then if I have a very bad idea and I execute it very well, I am able to make a lot from that. And then he made two statements which really hit hard. The first statement he made is that in the world of wealth, ideas are worthless, but they are treated like gold. And I think all of us can resonate with that. And the second one is that a business plan is useless because it is an idea on steroids. I think this one is a bit controversial for all those of us that really like business plans, but generally, I believe you can see the point he's trying to make here. He explained this very well using a chess analogy. He explained that your king is the execution. And you know that your king in chess is the most important player because once your king is gone, you've lost the game. The next most important is your queen. Your queen is your marketing, because obviously if no one knows about you, if no one knows about your solution, it's as well as inexistent. And then your third important one is customer service, and that is your bishop. So once your customer service is on point, you know, like your business is good, because you can be offering the best solution, but if you're not treating your customers very well, sooner or later they will end up leaving you for the next best alternative. And then the fourth one, which is your knight, that is your product. Why am I getting notifications? And the fourth one, that is your knight, is representing your product, the actual thing that you're bringing to the market. Yep. And the fifth one is your rook. Yeah, your rook, and that is the people. You know, people is about your staff, all of those people that are bringing your products to their customers. And then the fifth one, which is the least important, is the actual idea. They're there for the business, and those are your pawns. I know your pawns, they do things, but the game doesn't really rely on them. So in the same way, in the business world, your idea is good, but it's not really what pushes the business forward. You have to make sure you focus on execution, marketing, customer service, the product, the people, before you now start putting much effort on the idea. So just get a good enough idea and put it out there. I know all of this right now is just theory, but I believe it has shifted how I think about businesses and creating wealth, and I believe it should do the same for you. Of course, it's not all the points that are in the book. I have a lot of pages of notes that I've written from this book, and if you guys are interested in that, I've added them to my website, so you guys can just use the link on the screen right now or the link in the description and just hop on there and read all the notes. I've not uploaded everything yet. I'm going to finish in that probably in the next week or next 2 weeks. And by the way, if there's something you guys would like me to share in the future, just let me know in the comments and I'll see how I can make that possible. Yeah, next week I plan on sharing with you guys because right now I've passed the idea phase. I'm not more thinking about ideas anymore. I'm now in trying to validate stuff, like make sure this is a good enough, like not about good enough, making sure that this idea is relevant to the market. I'm now in that phase and also implementing my ideas. So next week I'm going to show you guys what I'm using to validate my ideas. This is my first time doing it this way, and I'll say I feel like I'm moving forward because I'm talking directly with potential customers even before I've built anything. Yeah. So I'm going to share you that next week with you guys. And so that's it for this video. If you liked it, just leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace. Yes, I just want you guys to know that I'm safe. That guy did not do anything to me. He thinks he can. I'm just being myself and enjoying myself, and he's coming to make me be serious. It's coming.